Please get it right up in there! Right here! No! Go! You're safe! Go. Run! Run up like me! In front of me! Damn it! This thing's alive! This thing!
Hey guys, welcome back to Latest Movie Stories. By the way, how's everyone doing? I bet you're all dying to watch a good monster flick, right? You should know that this movie was actually inspired by a total legendary monster film from back in the day, none other than the 1997 classic Anaconda. And today, we're going to dive into the 2025 version of Anaconda. All right then, instead of leaving you guys hanging and overthinking it, let's just jump straight into it. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any of my other videos. Let's get to it! The movie kicks off by showing the pristine beauty of the Amazon rainforest, which, of course, hasn't been touched by any palm oil projects. Inside a car, a pair of fugitives named Anna and Marco look anxious as they try to find a safe escape route. Right now, they're actually being hunted down by several intel agents. A moment later, they immediately panic when they hear something approaching the car, and it turns out to be a monkey! Feeling like it's just a waste of time, Anna, this knockoff Lara Croft, boldly takes off on her dirt bike. Right at that moment, the bearded guy Diego tells Mike to go catch Anna. Oh my god! Suddenly, Diego is beyond shocked when he sees Mike killed and dragged away by an anaconda, and the movie has only just begun. Then the scene shifts to an editor named Doug, who looks super pumped explaining a wedding video concept to his clients. Even though it sounds interesting, the concept Doug is describing is more like a crazy person being chased by a vengeful ghost. This couple just wants a Jadag style edit like on TikTok. Turns out Doug, the high-class editor, simply chose the wrong company that doesn't align with his passion.
A little different than normal, but...
We really like the one you did.
Can you do that for us or not?
Then the story shifts to a side actor named Ronald. This time, he's going to play the role of a senior nurse. In the middle of his nerves, a crew member tells Ronald to get ready.
This time.
He said his vision was blurry, which could suggest...
Vision was blurry, which already ruled that.
But because Ronald's acting felt way too forced, the producer asked him to redo his lines. Unfortunately, even after several tries, the producer decided to fire Ronald, considering him a total failure at acting. With a heavy heart, a desperate Ronald decided to give up on his dream of becoming a famous actor. In the midst of his despair, Ronald could only stare at a poster of the movie Anaconda, which has been his favorite film since he was a teenager. At night, Doug was surprised by a birthday party from his family and friends. His happiness was complete when Ronald, his childhood best friend, arrived. Shortly after, Ronald shared a surprise by playing a movie Doug had made when they were kids. It was titled Small Scale Bigfoot. Even though it looks a bit amateur now, for Doug and Ronald, the film was quite an achievement for their age back then.
So much charisma.
He's hot on the trail!
It's coming for us. We're trapped. What the hell are we gonna do?
The following day, Ronald met up with his friends to tell them about a major project. He had the idea to make a remake of Anaconda, the movie that was a massive hit back in 1997. Moreover, he's tired of working for production houses that have double standards. That's why he wants to produce his own film with a concept that's entirely his own. Finding the idea interesting, Kenny and Claire immediately agreed, especially since they don't have steady jobs right now. Doug, who was also fed up with his old office, finally decided to join the team as well. That night, Doug started typing the script for the Anaconda movie they were going to work on.
All right.
Long story short, Ronald and the others were immediately impressed by Doug's script. But now, they just had to figure out the funding for the movie. They were worried that the monster effects would end up looking like those low-budget local soap operas. In the end, they decided to apply for a $2.5 million bank loan, but unfortunately, the bank could only offer a small amount. Despite the tight budget, Doug remained confident that they could still produce a high-quality film.
Don't change a word. No,
Not
dude, you
a
killed
word.
it. Scary. It's
So it begins.
Upon arriving in Brazil, Doug gave his teammates a heads up that this project was their ultimate gamble. If they failed, they would be burdened with a mountain of debt.
God, it's terrible.
so like in the movie Anaconda.
Then, Kenny introduced a snake handler named Santiago, who would serve as their guide throughout the filming. Santiago then took them to see his pet Anaconda, which was going to be used as a prop. On the truck, Santiago showed off his Anaconda. He claimed the snake was tame and would only attack monkeys, unless there was a human who looked like a monkey. But before they began, Santiago warned them to always stay alert. According to the locals, there is a Titan anaconda in the Amazon River that is 10 times larger than his own. Despite the eerie warning, Doug immediately told them to head out.
Ooh.
Better to die.
On the other hand, Anna, who was trying to escape from Diego, was seen stealing keys from a drunken ship captain. Anna pulled a stunt by pretending to be the captain's assistant, appointed to take them on their way. As soon as she saw Diego arriving, Anna immediately urged Doug's group to set off right away.
Lives, please. I am begging you.
Long story short, after dinner, Doug invited his team to make a toast, expressing his deep hope that the filming process would go smoothly. Then, the following day, they immediately began the shoot.
And what if I'm not prone to giving up?
Anaconda, scene 15, take 1. Slap it.
Who hires an unhinged snake tracker?
In the middle of the shoot, Doug felt incredibly optimistic. Despite the limited equipment and budget, he believed the movie he was working on would at least rival those true story films that are always adapted from podcasts and viral threads. Long story short, that evening they seemed satisfied with the results of the day's shoot. And even though it was still too soon, they began celebrating today's success.
And as always, I trust your instincts on this.
In the middle of the night, after being confined for 2 days in a dilapidated crate, Santiago's starving anaconda was seen slithering out in search of prey. A moment later, everyone panicked upon realizing that Santiago's snake was roaming free on the ship, and it almost snapped at Ronald's face. Hearing this, Santiago guaranteed that his snake would never attack humans, especially since he had raised it himself since it was a hatchling. With that cleared up, they were told to get ready because the snake scene was scheduled for tomorrow.
Man, he's a poet.
The next day, the snake scene began. Amidst the terror, Ronald asked Doug to just use CGI, or, if possible, some free AI tools to create the snake effects. However, Doug reminded him once again that this was the only way to save their budget.
Man,
What? No, he sacrificed.
close in person like that. Majestic creature.
Out you, Derek.
This thing's got me. The world's go. I don't like this. I don't want to do it anymore.
Get it a tiny bit closer. 1 inch closer to your face. Get it right up.
You got it, dude.
No, I don't quite have it.
Doug, you
Hold
got
it.
to go.
Talk about bad luck! Because they panicked too much, Santiago's snake ended up getting shredded by the ship's propeller. By nighttime, Santiago couldn't hold back his tears as his true companion ended up as minced meat. Much like the funeral of the Going Merry, Santiago had to let go of his best friend. At that same moment, Diego's subordinate, Timo, reported that Ana was on a ship with some weird people. Hearing this, Diego ordered his team to keep up the surveillance. However, a moment later, Timo panicked when he heard a splashing sound in the water.
Estão fazendo funeral estranho pra um tipo.
Oh my God, what a tragedy! Having just started his job as an informant, Timo's life ended when he was swallowed whole by the Titan Anaconda. In the middle of the night, Ronald tried to apologize for his foolish actions. With a bottle of Timu Lawak as a bribe, Ronald asked Santiago to understand his fears.
Say I'm sorry.
Oh. Yeah, still sad, Brent.
Was it a snake?
Then, as a suggestion, Ronald offered to go with Santiago to find a replacement snake. After all, they still needed a snake for the filming process. Hearing that, Santiago agreed to do it, provided that his fee was doubled.
I like you. Yeah, you come with me, of course.
Long story short, upon arriving at the swamp, Santiago told Ronald to stay alert because right now he could sense the presence of a snake.
Snaky. What's... It's snaky?
Shh. Listen.
Seeing Santiago suddenly vanish, a panicked Ronald immediately bolted back to the ship. Meanwhile, Santiago, who continued the hunt, turned on a heat sensor to lure the snake. What a tragedy! Because of Ronald's idea, Santiago ended up as a snack for the Titan Anaconda. Upon returning to the ship, a worried Ronald immediately urged his teammates to go look for Santiago.
From what?
We went out to go get a new snake. Guys, it's been over an hour. I have to go find him.
Yeah, Santiago, let's go!
But after trekking deep into the wilderness, they were puzzled to see a van parked in the middle of the jungle. They immediately rushed over to check it out. But a moment later, they panicked when they heard a rustling sound coming from behind the bushes. Oh my God! They immediately panicked when they saw the Titan Anaconda regurgitating Santiago's corpse. In the middle of the chaos, their escape was hampered by the director's situation. The car battery wasn't connected. Because of that, one of them had to check on it, and eventually Doug, with his heavy build, was pointed out to go check the battery.
I'm gonna die.
The situation became even more chaotic as the group of informants tried to hunt down Anna. However, Anna let them know that those guys were actually a group of illegal gold miners trying to capture her. As soon as they started taking fire, Anna immediately grabbed a rifle.
Only one left!
After escaping Diego's squad, they arrived at the ship and immediately panicked when Diego asked about Anna's whereabouts. Because he talked way too much, Anna managed to sneak up on Diego and knock him unconscious. A moment later, Anna urged Doug and the others to escape toward the north. Hearing that, Doug was instantly confused, especially since they hadn't finished the movie project they were working on.
You can get us home?
Yes.
Get us home. I think we got...
The next day, Doug said he got some extra inspiration to add to his movie project. This time, he wanted to include some Tomb Raider-style shootout scenes and recruit Anna as a character in his film. Ronald was also optimistic that the movie would become an even bigger hit in the market.
Pretty burnt, man.
Just hear me. And I had an idea last night that I think is just... Man.
I like this. I'm in.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, let's finish this movie.
Long story short, their jaws dropped when they saw a film crew from Sony suddenly arrive.
We're doing a reboot of Anaconda. Are they making a movie?
When Doug asked about it, one of the crew members mentioned that Sony was actually working on an Anaconda sequel. They were absolutely shocked to find out that the owner of the license was already developing the same project idea. Naturally, This made Doug furious, as it meant all their hard work was going to be for nothing.
Yeah, no, I know. No, I mean, like, you know, like...
Into the rights to Anaconda.
Oh, bullshit! Not bullshit! It's why you never came out to... I had to lie to you! You wouldn't have come otherwise! You wouldn't...
Yes, that's why we're here! We almost died!
Too bad for you, I guess. Because I
As Ronald threw a tantrum, Claire tried to stop him from leaving. Especially since there's a Titan Anaconda in this river. However, Ronald didn't care and just walked away. However, midway through his journey, Ronald panicked when he saw the Sony film crew's ship looking completely trashed, like a bunch of monkeys had gone wild on it. He was certain that the ship had been attacked by the Titan Anaconda. At that moment, Ronald saw a crew member named Melly who had survived, and he tried to help her. But Ronald was absolutely shell-shocked when he saw Melly killed and devoured by the Anaconda. By the time Ronald tried to head back, he was so panicked that he just ended up driving in circles aimlessly. At that same moment, Doug and the others were puzzled when they saw Anna pulling the boat over to some thick bushes. Then suddenly, Anna, who was fed up with lying, pointed her gun at them and demanded that they follow her every command.
Now! What's going on?
Not long after, Ronald was puzzled to find the ship so eerily quiet. At that moment, he checked Diego's rubber boat and was shocked to find a set of rifles hidden there. Back to Anna. Upon arriving at a remote dock, Anna ordered Doug and the others to help her retrieve several bags she had hidden at that location. Doug's jaw dropped when he saw the piles of gold inside those bags. He finally realized that the illegal gold miner was actually Anna herself.
I'm not going anywhere until...
Fortunately, Diego arrived just in time to apprehend her. Diego told her that Anna's Tomb Raider act was over, and she would have to answer for everything before the law.
You don't move!
But suddenly...
Oh my God!
Ronald, who had no idea what was going on, ended up shooting Diego. As a result, Anna easily took advantage of the situation to turn the tables, but...
I have children at home. They're 10 and... No!
For the record, that's how you have it.
Even though it felt like a waste, Anna, the illegal miner, truly deserved to die and end up as Anaconda droppings. In the middle of their escape, Doug was puzzled when he felt something biting him.
What's that? What?
During the journey, Doug tried to apologize for his harsh words and for talking so much trash to Ronald. But suddenly... Instantly, they were all in total shock when they saw Doug get devoured by the Anaconda. While Ronald stood there frozen in disbelief, Claire immediately grabbed him and pulled him away to escape. After running for a long time, barefoot and disoriented, Ronald expressed his deep regret, especially since his idea to find a replacement snake had turned into a complete disaster, and now Doug had been snatched away by that snake. But at that same moment, Kenny, who didn't want to waste any time, urged his two companions to keep moving. After trekking a long way barefoot, Kenny said they were about to cross an open grassland, which would make them sitting ducks. A moment later, they panicked when they heard the sound of the snake closing in. They were all in total shock when they found Doug being regurgitated along with a wild boar. After checking on him, Kenny realized that Doug was already dead and immediately brought up a crazy idea. He would use Doug's body as bait so they could escape. Even though it felt heartless, there really was no other way.
The distraction. Snakes. They love squirrel meat.
After tying the wild boar to Doug's body, they prepared to make their escape. Suddenly, they were shocked to realize that Doug was actually still alive. In the middle of the panic, they yelled at Doug to run.
Get a shitty job! What the fuck? Ah, shit!
Then, while carrying that boar on his back, Doug tried to bolt as fast as he could, hauling ass for his dear life.
Damn it! This thing's alive!
Luckily, the Anaconda only managed to catch the wild boar. Long story short, after trekking through the rough terrain for a long time, they finally reached the Anaconda movie set. Then, a moment later, Ronald was puzzled when he heard the faint sound of a walkie-talkie.
Hello? What? Again? Sorry?
This is insane! Acting all cool, their jaws dropped when the original star of the old Anaconda movie, Ice Cube, showed up to save them. Ice Cube immediately told them to hide and started explaining the terror that had been happening throughout the filming process. Ice Cube, who was planning to rescue Jennifer Lopez, let them know that the production team had planted explosives all around the area for the movie's final scene. Realizing this, Doug planned to use those explosives to finish off the Titan Anaconda. Then, before carrying out the plan, they actually took the time to ask Ice Cube for a selfie first.
I got another one. All right.
Ice Cube handed over a pistol just in case. Then, Doug asked Kenny and Claire to get the cameras ready and set up the trail of explosives. Meanwhile, he and Ronald would bait the Anaconda using a golf cart to lure it toward the blast zone. Once the preparations were complete, Doug and Ronald set out to bait the Anaconda.
How are you talking about? I'm talking about golf cart technology! Yes! Oh, shit!
Nothing like this, okay?
Okay. Almost there! Oh my god!
Signal. We don't get this thing online in time.
However, the prop explosives lacked any real punch when the Anaconda closed in.
It's a dead end.
Cornered, Ronald tried to muster the courage to finish off the snake by channeling a scene from the Bigfoot movie he had made back when he was a kid. Finally! After its body was ripped apart by a massive explosion, the Anaconda was finished off for good after being stabbed with an Oscar trophy. A moment later, they hurried away, having survived the monster's attack. Long story short, even with a shoestring budget, the Anaconda remake they produced received a warm welcome from monster movie fans because the story was considered so unique.
A long time ago, snake is a metaphor for the monsters that come for all of us.
But as luck would have it, after only a few days in theaters, Sony decided to pull the film, citing copyright infringement. A few days later, Doug couldn't believe his eyes when Jennifer Lopez suddenly showed up at his house. Jennifer Lopez told him that Sony had asked her to recruit Doug to officially direct an Anaconda movie. Doug instantly fainted upon hearing the news. And that's a wrap. So that's the thing, guys. Sometimes our dreams seem impossible, and our resources are super limited. But don't ever give up, because your hard work will definitely be noticed by the right people at the right time. Keep dreaming, keep creating, and don't be afraid of the snakes trying to block your path in life. Alright guys, thanks for watching this breakdown of Anaconda 2025. Until the very end here on Latest Movie Stories. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe so this channel can keep getting even more awesome. I'm heading out for now. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye-bye!